Are you a people pleaser or are unable to hold down a job or question your self-worth? Then this episode of Books with Bridgetti is just for you. We will look at some real life examples of how you can get out of your own way, and we'll be featuring the book She's an Overcomer. Don't go away, we will be right back.
Thanks for having me on your live show. It was really my pleasure. Your production is just fantastic. Unbelievable how you guys are pulling that off. So organized with segments and transitions and all those different things. Right in line with what I'm talking about in my new book, Going Live. Live stream your podcast to reach more people. Hopefully people tune in for our conversations. Definitely worth the on-demand version, in my opinion, if I may say so myself. You guys are awesome.
I think this might be, I've been on over 24 different podcasts and radio shows in the last couple of months, and this has to be one of the most sophisticated, what the kids that I used to teach call bomb.com shows and presentations that I've ever been on. It looks fantastic.
I love your introduction. How professional. That sounds, I feel like I'm on a beautiful show here.
Folks, welcome.
Available wherever great books are sold near you.
Oh my goodness, Ross, thank you so much.
Thanks. And, this is one of the most fun interviews that I've ever done. So thank you, Bridgetti.
Big pleasure. Ross, take care.
Thank you.
If you've just joined us, you're watching Books with Bridgetti, and my amazing guest today is Lynda Sunshine West of Action Takers Publishing. But before I invite her to join me on screen here, one of the things that I'm very, very passionate about is helping people to level up. Now, one of the things that COVID-19 and the pandemic has done for us is that it's allowed us to take our books to an international platform. Now, prior to COVID, many of you were doing book readings in libraries, at schools, or local events that was organized by your book publisher, for example. And that was great to have that personal interaction with your audience, but that was very, very local. Thanks to the pandemic, we've become a lot more comfortable online to share our books and share our stories. And basically, you can now have an audience globally wherever the internet is available. And that's just about everywhere. So you can connect with an audience wherever the internet is available. Now, a couple of ways in which you can level up how you appear on camera. Most of you who go live on Instagram, for example, or TikTok, you'd be using your phone, right? And what you would be doing is you'd be holding your phone in portrait mode, and that's 100% correct, because both those platforms, both Instagram and TikTok, uses the entire screen real estate if you're holding your phone in portrait mode. However, if you are wanting to go live on any of the other platforms, and I want to say big warm welcome if you're watching us over on Facebook, on YouTube, on LinkedIn, on Twitter, on Twitch, also over on Amazon Live, a very warm welcome to you. So if you're going live on any of the other platforms other than TikTok or Instagram, turn your phone into landscape mode. If you ever wondered what those awful black lines are on the sides, it's because you are on the platform where you need to be in landscape mode. Now, a very quick tip here as well. You want to use a tripod of any kind, and there's a huge variety. You can literally take your pick. I've just got these here with me that I always show. The DJI Osmo, for example, if you're walking around and doing a walkabout in your neighborhood, you'd want to use that while you're talking about your book. And if you are traveling or you discovered you'd forgotten your tripod at home, fear not. Here's a very quick hack for you. Take your phone, use some Tic Tac, sticky tack stick, whatever you can find, and stick your phone on the window. The great thing about doing that is you'll have your phone at the correct angle. It'll be at 90 degrees angle, so people don't see the ceiling. And you will also have front-facing light, because if you have light coming from behind you, people will not see, they will not see your book well. So putting your phone against the window is one of the best and easiest ways that you can go live, and your hands are free because then you can hold your book up, you can be animated, engage with your audience without worrying about your phone or making your audience seasick because you are moving your phone if you do that. Another quick hack is if you are out there in a library or whichever environment and you are using an external microphone, which we recommend. There's the lavalier, there's the Boya, you can literally take your pick. There are tons and tons of microphones that you can use. And if you ever wondered what these things are when people are on television and you see that little gizmo on them, you know what that is? That is a windshield, and it's going to prevent word whiskers and the wind and coming into your broadcast when you are talking, and going to give you a much better sound quality. Also, to avoid any kind of feedback while you are talking, while you're being interviewed, for example, do invest in a great earphone of any kind. These are my favorite. I love them fitting, but take your pick. There are tons. They'll all do the same job. So do invest in something like that. And of course, if you do have a laptop and you want to level up from there, my recommendation is that you invest in a webcam. Personally, I recommend the Logitech range. There are a whole bunch of them. My personal favorite is the Logitech Brio because it's got right side light technology, which means it'll automatically adjust. You don't need to be a fund in terms of lighting. And then, of course, I use a big microphone like that. You don't have to. As I said, you can just use a lavalier microphone. Now, on to my amazing guest, Lynda Sunshine West. She is an amazing woman. She's absolutely phenomenal. I've known Lynda for a couple of years. She is a real overcomer. She's faced many challenges over her life, but she's also a phenomenal speaker, an executive film producer, a red carpet interviewer, and a 16, I could be wrong, could be 17 or 18 times number. I will have to ask her today. #1 international best-selling award-winning author. Lynda is also the founder of Action Takers Publishing, and she's on an amazing mission to empower 5 million women and men to share their stories. And she'll tell us a little bit about this. But she ran away from home at the age of 5. And then after that, she got stuck in a lifetime of people pleasing. And I'm sure there are many of you out there who can relate to that. And how do you then unlock your life from there? Well, at the age of 51, she decided to face her fears one fear at a day for an entire year. And then she wrote the book, The Year of Fear. So, without any further ado, let's give a hearty warm welcome to my amazing guest, Lynda Sunshine West. Lynda, welcome to the show. So pleased to have you join me today. Now, you are just a phenomenal person.
Thank you.
But it wasn't always that way. The book that we're going to focus on today is called She's an Overcomer, and I'm looking forward to dive into that book. It is, and I'm going to put you on full screen for a second so you can just hold up that book there. It's an amazing book, and we'll dive into that book a little bit later. But for now, can we just go back just a little bit? Because, you are a very, very dynamic person now, but you weren't always that way. And the reason I want to focus on that is because there are many people out there who are currently stuck where you were, and so they would benefit from knowing how you became unstuck from that position. Can we backtrack just a little bit to when you were 5 years old and how you started on this journey?
Yeah, definitely. First, Bridgetti, thank you for having me. And I always love your production. It's so professional, really well done, and it makes me feel like Forbes Riley said, right? It feels so professional, like I'm in a real studio. So thank you for that, and for putting that effort into it. Because ladies and gentlemen, it takes a lot of work to do these shows, even if you don't have high production value. So Bridgetti is doing a really great job, in helping the person who's coming on feel extra special. And that's one of the things I want to talk about today is this people pleasing aspect, right? It's like, that's not about people pleasing there, but oftentimes we get so wrapped up into pleasing other people that we forget about ourselves. And we forget that, we actually have value, or maybe we have desires and dreams and hopes, but we've put them on the back burner because we're so worried about what everybody else is, wanting to do and stuff. And so this people pleasing aspect started when I was 5 years old. I grew up in a very volatile, abusive, alcoholic household, and you listening, you might also have grown up in that type of environment. And one thing I've learned throughout the years is that, I'm a product of my environment, but here's the thing, we can change our environment today. I'm a product of the old environment for a while, but I don't have to stay stuck there. I don't have to stay stuck there. It's a choice to stay stuck there, which was my choice for the first 51 years of my life. I was 5 years old and I decided I've had it. I'm not growing up in this household. And I ran away. I was gone for an entire week. First question everybody asked me is, where did you go? Well, I just went to the neighbor's house, so I was safe. However, what happened during that week is something that would change my entire mindset, and it would lock in tight for the next 46 years of my life. Nobody came to get me. So as a 5-year-old, nobody came to get me. And this belief was locked in tight that they don't want me around. That's why they didn't come to get me. They don't love me. That's why they didn't come to get me. Now, the reality is that my mom did love me. I don't know about my dad so much. I didn't really have any type of relationship with him. But my mom, she did love me, but she didn't know how to express it. So I think what she was doing, as I look back at it, I think what she was doing was allowing me to exercise my independence as a 5-year-old. But what she didn't know was happening is that I was having these beliefs that started getting, locked in tight to my brain. And so what happened was when I came home with my tail between my legs, I wanted to be gone forever. I never wanted to come back. But my mom brought me back home. And I ended up becoming riddled with fears. And I became the ultimate people pleaser. If you liked it, I liked it. If you hated it, I hated it. If you loved it, I loved it. This was a problem because no matter where I went, I was conforming. And I used to call myself, I was so proud of myself because I was a chameleon. I could blend into any situation. I was so proud of that. But the reality is I was blending in because I was a freaking people pleaser, right? And so what happened is if I was in an environment, Bridgetti, let's say it was you, me, and let's say Samantha. I just made up a name. Okay, so it's Bridgetti, me, and Samantha. And Bridgetti has this strong love for something, and Samantha has this strong hate for that same thing. Poor Lynda doesn't know who to please. And this happened more times than not. And so I would just I would say yes, and I would say yes, and I would just go back and forth. I didn't know who I was. So that's kind of like how this whole thing went.
That. Lynda, I think a lot of people can relate to that. You almost become like a chameleon, and you don't have an identity of your own. And I think it's a protection mechanism as a child. Something to hide behind.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with you on that. And so the question is, how do we move beyond that? And that's where I am. I did a lot of work to get beyond that. I am no longer a people pleaser. I am a completely 100% reformed people pleaser, which is so awesome to be on this side, but it didn't happen overnight. It took a lot of work. So if you'd like, I can share some of that process.
I'd like you to share that, and then what led to you writing The Year of Fears. Now, something I always like to ask people is that, when it comes to our own personal stories, we want to hold them close to our chest. It's very difficult to let go of something that's so deeply personal. Now, knowing your story, and where you come from and how you got to where you are, I want to ask you, how did you get to the point of writing down your story and letting go? Because we all feel we don't want to let go of our stories. We feel ashamed of our past. How did you get past that fear?
Oh yeah, this is a great question, because it was a process to get to that point. So when I was 51, and again, this was 46 years of that belief: nobody loves me, nobody wants me around. I was a people pleaser. I got to this realization one day as I was driving to work. Now, I'd worked in the corporate world for 36 years, and of those 36 years, I had 49 jobs. So I was driving to work on my 49th job, and I was stuck in traffic like I had been for 36 years. And I was like pounding on the steering wheel, like, this is crazy. I hate my life. I don't understand it. There's no purpose here. What's my purpose? I have no value. And I really, truly believed this about myself. And so I just was like, as a matter of fact, what's the purpose of this whole entire planet? But most importantly, why am I even here? I didn't have an answer. I was just asking questions that day. When I got to work that day, there was a Facebook post and it said, I'm a life coach. I took some time off. I'm getting back into it, and I'm looking for 5 women who want to change their lives. And I was like, I don't know what a life coach is. I just know I want to change my life. So I raised my hand and I said, yes, I'm in. And that was the first step. The first step was to say, I do need help. That was the very first step. And I happened to find the perfect person. She was incredible, asking me all the right questions week after week. And every week I hated her because she asked me the right questions to help me to dig deep down within myself so I could discover who I am. Who is Lynda? So that was
So
the
you're
start
saying
of
your
it.
first secret, your first secret to finding or digging your way out of where you were at was investing in a life coach. And I think a lot of people may think, well, do I really need it? Can I not help myself? But clearly, if you weren't able to get out of it for the first 51 years of your life, you needed that extra help to invest in yourself to get a life coach. So would you recommend that to people?
I definitely would recommend, if you're open, because if you're not open, it doesn't matter who you pay, you're not going to learn anything. So, there's that saying, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. Well, I was finally ready. The teacher was always there, but I was finally ready and open. And so really it's about like saying I need help, and then being open to it and finding the right people, because there are millions of life coaches out there. So how are you going to choose the right one? Well, I didn't know how to choose. I just like, oh, that's the one, because that was the first one that came in my purview. And it was definitely the right life coach for me. And I mentioned that, I hated her on a weekly basis. And the reason is because she asked me deep, dark questions that would help me to really go so deep that it was painful. It was so painful on a weekly basis. By the end of the week, though, I had morphed and shifted to that next little level that I needed to get to so I could get to that next little level. So it's just little small steps up that the rung of the ladder in order to get to where I am today. But I took the steps. It was hard. It was painful, but I took the steps, and I'm so glad I did. It was the greatest decision, and the greatest gift I ever gave to myself was hiring a life coach.
So you wrote the book, The Year of Fears, and talk us a little bit about that process, because that was part of what freed you up to step into your greatness, that you've become now.
Yeah, definitely. So after I worked with my life coach, which it was 5 months of working with her, it was the end of the year of 2014, and I had December all by myself because I worked with her until the end of November. December, I'm by myself. And what I was recognizing that is I'm not changing as fast. I'm not growing as fast. I'm not transforming as fast. I got addicted to that positive change. And so on January 1st of 2015, I woke up that morning and I said, I want to keep going. I want to keep growing. I've got so many fears. I'm going to break through a fear every day this year. It was like an impromptu thing. It just came up. Why a year? Why did I don't know why anything came up, but it's what came up. So my commitment to myself was every morning when I woke up, I would ask myself the same question before I even got out of bed. And that is, what scares me? And then I would lay in bed and I would wait till the first fear popped into my head. Sometimes it would be instantly, and sometimes it would be 5 or 10 minutes. But this was a decision that I made and a commitment that I made. And so whatever that fear was, my commitment was to break through that fear that day. And I did it 365 days in a row. Well, through about 6 months through it, I came to this huge epiphany because I started looking back like, what's the common thread between these fears? There's got to be something that's common. And I looked at that and I said, oh man, my greatest fear is the fear of judgment. What was cool about this, Bridgetti, is this made it so that now I know what the greatest fear is. Now I can focus on cracking the code of breaking through that fear. My people pleaser relates to the fear of judgment. So many things that I did in life, as I look back, I'm like, like they say, more people are afraid of speaking on stage than they are of dying. And that is not true. The reality is that they're afraid of the judgment they will receive on stage than they are of dying. I don't know if it's than they are of dying, but it's the judgment. So if we look at that, so if we can change the way we think about ourselves, because a lot of times the judgment is our self-judgment. We're judging, I'm my own worst enemy, right? How many times have you said that? So we're judging ourselves where it's like, I'm my own worst enemy. And like, oh, I can't believe I did that. I'm so stupid. I'm ignorant. Whatever things we're saying to ourselves, we need to become our own best cheerleader.
Yeah, that self-talk can be very, very harmful to us. So I want to fast forward a little bit to where you are now and this journey that you've embarked on as a publisher. So we'll take a very quick break. When we come back, we'll talk about Lynda's journey into becoming a publisher with Action Takers Publishers. Stay with us. We'll be right back. If you've just joined us, welcome back to Books with Bridgetti. My amazing guest today is Lynda Sunshine West of Action Takers Publishers. Lynda, now fast forward a couple of years from where you started as a people pleaser. You turned your life around. You wrote a book, The Year of Fears, and you overcame a whole bunch of things right in line with the book we'll talk about a bit later, which is She is an Overcomer. But before we get to that, you are now a book publisher. Was that something you set out to do? How did that come about?
Heck no. Not at all. Like I have said my whole life, I'm not a writer. I'm not a writer. And, that was my belief about myself. And so how it came about is in 2015, when I was breaking through a fear every day, I ended up meeting somebody who would end up becoming becoming my greatest mentor. His name is Greg Reed. And it was February of 2015. By then I had broken through about 45 days in a row of breaking through fears. And he was writing a book at the time called Footsteps of the Fearless. And I was breaking through a fear every day. And so he said, this is a perfect book for you to join. And I'm like, I don't know how to write. And he said, don't worry about it. We have ghostwriters. They'll take care of all of that. And I said, okay, I'm in. So I paid a hefty sum of cash to be in that book. And it was kind of like that jumping off point. I said, yes. I said yes to me. I wasn't saying yes to him. I was saying yes to me, to putting my words on paper, to putting a little bit of my story out there into the world. Well, after I was done breaking through those fears every day, I was in that book. And my mentor, Greg, he says, it's cool that you broke through a fear every day for a year, but what are you going to do about it? And I'm like, I think that's plenty. I don't need to do anything more. He goes, no. You have to write a book about it. Who out there breaks through a fear every day for a year? You can inspire and motivate people to break through fears. You can teach them how to do it. And I was like, okay, I'll write a book. I didn't want to write a book because I'm not a writer. So I embarked on the journey of writing the book. I started it and started it and started it for a year and a half. And then finally, when it got to that year and a half, I met somebody, another coach. This was a book writing coach. And she taught me a technique that would help me to then start and finish my book in a week. And I did it. I followed the directions and I did it. I wrote and finished my book in a week. And then I published it the following week. So this was kind of like the catalyst. It's like, oh, I can actually do this. And then after that, Bridgetti, I was like, this is so much fun. Oh my gosh, I wrote a book. I was in a book. What's my next natural state of progression? A question I ask myself frequently. And that was, I'm going to start writing my own collaboration books. I'm going to start bringing people together to share their stories. And that's when you came along in The Fearless Entrepreneurs and Invisible No More, Invincible Forevermore. Those are the two books that were next. And when those two books launched, and I was just doing this for fun because I love bringing people together. When those two books launched 8 days apart, they both hit #1 international in under 5 hours. I looked at that and I said, wow, oh my gosh, I know what I'm doing. I absolutely love this and I am damn good at it. This is what I'm going to do. I think this is what I'm supposed to do, is help people to share their stories. And that's the genesis and how it came to be. And since then, like now I'm a 17 times #1 international bestselling author, award-winning on one of our books. And, I don't know how many books I'm going to write. And I now love sharing my story and writing it. I am a writer. We all are writers. We just compare ourselves to other people.
Well, all I can say is congratulations and just wow. So, for anyone watching out there, now there are a lot of people, everyone's got a story in them. A lot of people have got more than one story, but a lot of people just don't get to the point of sharing their story and putting it out in the world. What are the benefits of becoming a collaboration author in an anthology? Why should people do that, in your opinion?
Yeah, first of all, it's getting your story out there can be healing for yourself. And Bridgetti can attest to this, because when she wrote her story, there were some things that came up. When I wrote my story, there were things that came up. I've gotten to the point that I've told my story so many times now that I no longer have any emotional connection to my story. So when I first started telling it, I would, tear up, or I would even cry, like full on crying. And so it's through the process of healing, when we share our stories. So that's one thing. The collaborative books, what I love the most about them is it's a community within a community. So each book has a certain number of authors in it, and you have this opportunity to connect with those other people. It's up to you, of course, to do the work and connect with them, but we provide the platform, we provide the opportunities for you to connect with like-minded people. So the book we're going to talk about in a little bit, She is an Overcomer. This is all women who have overcome some challenges, tapping into God to help them through those challenges in their lives. Well, all of these women have not a similar story, but they have a similar circumstance that they have gone through, and they have all overcome. So they already have a bond through the sharing of their stories. So this is one of my favorite pieces about the collaborative books. And then, of course, now we have an army behind us. So on launch day, we can, hit that #1 international bestseller status. So you get to become a #1 international bestselling author. And so there's a lot of great aspects of it.
Well, I want to attest to that aspect of being part of a collaboration book, is that you surround the authors with an amazing support community. And I think, if you are a first-time author, you sort of very unsure. I know a lot of people hold back from getting published because, they seem like it's such an insurmountable task. But every single person, myself included, that's worked with you, have found that the process was so easy because we were surrounded with a support system. Most of the collaboration books have roughly about 30 authors in. Is that correct? I think it's about 30 people. So you have this community of 30 people who's in the same situation as you, gone through the same kind of challenges, and you feel like, you've got this community behind you that's got your back. and it just makes the whole process so much easier, so much fun. And you've already got the whole, publishing process down pat almost. I think I've perfected that process that makes it fun and easy for the entire team to be part of this. I don't know how you do it, but it certainly has been, it's always a fun and exciting process to be part of your collaboration book. So if you're watching the show right now and you're thinking, can I, can't I, should I want to encourage you to actually get in touch with Lynda, because she really has got this process down to a T, that just makes everything run so smooth as butter. uh, a lot of people that I've interviewed that has worked with Lynda, they all say the same thing. They enjoyed the journey. So if you're still on the fence about writing your book, I encourage you, really, really reach out to Lynda. So Lynda, let's move on a little bit to your ambitious goal of publishing, is it 5 million stories? Tell us a
Five
little bit
million.
about
Yeah.
that, and how, how far have you come? Are you about to throw in the towel? Do you think this is possible still? And why do you have such an ambitious goal?
Yeah, thank you for that question. It's kind of funny. The way that came about is, first of all, my favorite number is 5, right? There was the life coach that said she's looking for 5 women. I was 5 years old when I ran away, right? So the 5 actually seems to come up a lot in my life, and it is my favorite number. And so when somebody was saying, "Oh, what's your goal?" Right? Because people ask us all the time, "What's your goal? What's your goal?" And I was like, 50,000 stories. That's what we're going to do. We're going to do 50,000 stories. And that was a huge number. Like, it seemed insurmountable. But how did I get to 5 million? Well, I remembered Grant Cardone, because I've read his book 10X, and read some of his books and stuff. And he talks about 10Xing it. And I was like, oh, wait, I need to 10X that number. So I said 5 million. Well, I didn't realize that's 100X. But I said, oh, that's 100X. That's okay. We're doing it. We're doing 5 million. And it is not, I'm nowhere near going to throw in the towel on that, because this is a legacy number. So Bridgetti, it's not about me and what I can do while I'm here. It's about setting the sights for what the team can do together. And this is, this is a collaboration of people. Like, I have my team in the background. We're going to keep growing as we publish more books. And it's just really an incredible journey. But that number 5 million doesn't scare me at all. And it was through the process that I've gone through in this last 8 years, after working with my life coach, the growth that I've made, the just the mindset shifts that I've made, that number does not scare me at all. And then I was like, oh, I'm leaving a legacy. I never considered leaving a legacy before. This is the first time. So we have our system set up, and yes, we do have it down to a T. We know exactly what we're doing, when to do what, and we're making it happen. It's been an incredible journey, but it's really about setting everything up for success after I'm gone.
Now, there's also an interesting reason why Lynda chose the name Action Takers Publishing. We're going to take a quick break, and we come back. I'm going to ask Lynda to tell us about why she chose the name Action Takers Publishing. Stay with us. We'll be right back. If you've just joined us, welcome back. You are watching Books with Bridgetti, and my amazing guest today is Lynda Sunshine West of Action Takers Publishing. Now, I don't believe it was any accident that you chose the name Action Takers Publishing. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, this is because I spent so many years of my life being a procrastinator. And I think I got it figured out that the reason I procrastinated was because of my fear of judgment. If I put it out there and people judge me and they don't like it, then, so that was really a guiding force in my life. That fear of judgment guided me down the wrong path so many times. And so what I found is that I wanted to be surrounded by action takers. So hopefully, maybe I don't know, maybe I would actually become an action taker. So I named Action Takers Publishing so I could attract action takers to me, which would in turn help me to change the way I am, because they say that we're a reflection of the 5 people we hang out with the most. Well, if I'm hanging out with procrastinators, I'm most likely going to be a procrastinator. So I flipped it and said, if I'm an action taker, or if I'm hanging out with action takers, I will most likely become an action taker. And I got to tell you, Bridgetti, it has worked way better than I ever thought it would. It's been amazing. I'm attracting so many action takers to me, and a lot of them say, I'm joining because of the name. Amazing, right?
It absolutely is, because it does give one the confidence that, because a lot of people often complain that they go to someone to help them get published and then nothing happens. And, in my experience and in the experience of many of the other people that have worked with you, you certainly live up to that name, because you take action, and you take massive action in a very, very small period of time. I've heard some amazing stories of people that you've inspired to write their chapter in the anthologies just overnight, literally.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
that's huge. I don't think, a lot of people don't think that they've got it in them, but somehow you've managed to inspire them to do that, and that's the kind of power that you wield over the people that you work with, and that is phenomenal. So I want to just take a step back into the book that you held up a few minutes ago, She's an Overcomer. Tell us a little bit about how that book came about.
Yeah, this book actually, so we have been, publishing the anthology books, as well as we have solo book clients that we publish as well. And the woman here, her name is Dara Bose. She's the one who is heading up this book. She was in one of our other books, and she loved our process so much. And she had actually been with another publisher, and kind of like what you said, she had an experience that was subpar. And so when she saw how we worked, she was like, oh my gosh, I want to do a book with you guys too. So she came to me and said, hey, I have this idea to do this book, about, a women overcoming challenges in their lives, and how they've tapped into God to move through those challenges. Can we do one together? And I was like, yeah, of course, because we do these collaboration books, and we do them with other people. We have our own, but we also do them with other people. And so came together, and 30 women, we just, she got the majority of the women into the book. And then we had a couple that we brought in as well. And you just kept moving it through the process. And it's the hardest part of doing these collaboration books is getting the commitments from people to join. Because once that's done, like our job, Action Takers Publishing, that's where we make it like fast, fun, and easy for our clients, is because we have the systems in place. We know exactly what we're doing. We're going to make it a lot of fun, because fun is like one of my number one pillars in life, is to have as much fun as possible. And then we're going to make it easy for you, because we're going to provide everything for you. All you do is write a chapter. That's it. And so we make this process fast, fun, and easy for everybody. And so when Dara saw that process in action for the other book she was in, called Wellness for Winners, she was like, I'm in, let's do it. And so here we are, She is an Overcomer. It's a best-selling book. It's international best-selling. We're looking for that number one status. We have some tweaks that we need to make behind the scenes to make that happen, but I 100% know it's going to happen. Like, I already know it's going to. It's just, we're waiting for the platform that we're on today. We're waiting for that one to catch up with us to get the book out there. So yes, Sally, it's been a blessing to be part of the book. And so it's just really incredible, the connections that are made through these books. And, I'm just honored and blessed to have been given this ability to be able to do this work, because I'm doing what I absolutely love doing. And it's incredible when that happens.
And I've met some of the women that's in this book, She is an Overcomer, and their stories just literally brought tears to my eyes. You cannot believe some of the things that these women have overcome in their lives. It's just a true inspiration, and it's amazing how you've attracted such quality stories. These are not made up stories. These are not stories of fiction. They are real life stories. And, some of the stories I sort of like, I can't imagine that these women have actually really lived through that. And I think it's your story of your stories of inspiration that have drawn these women to you into this a space where I think people feel safe enough to want to share. And every single person talks about how liberated they feel, how
Yes.
relieved they feel, how empowered they feel once they've shared their stories. What's next for you? You know, after She's an Overcomer, have you got any more books lined up?
Oh boy, do we. Yeah, I'm frequently awakened around 3 a.m. with titles in my head. And so I'll get up and I'll go write them down on a piece of paper. I think we probably have about 75 titles that are like in the hopper, just waiting for us to bring those out. But we're working on a couple. One is called Embrace Courage. Again, this is women and men, showing how they've embraced courage in their lives. The butterfly effect, like that transformation, through the butterfly. We're publishing one of our solo clients. Her book is titled Recovering People Pleaser, which, that's really fits with what we're talking about today. And then we have one called Believe. This is also a solo book that we're publishing. We have one called Action Takers Who Step Up and Speak Out. And these stories are really about, sharing your voice with the world and putting your message out there into the world. And like you said, Bridgetti, one of the things that has been extremely important for me is to create an environment, a safe environment that you feel like there's no judgment against you. And this has been really important to me because, I myself grew up in that judgment. I grew up in it. I was judgmental. I was judgmental against myself. I was judgmental against other people. And I found that once I started believing in myself and I stopped judging myself, I stopped judging others. And, I still seep back into that, but now I can recognize that, oh, I'm judging. Let's stop that. Let's find the good things in that person. And so I created that environment because, again, I wanted to be surrounded by people who are non-judgmental. So I created the environment so that I could be surrounded by those people. And that's what, these books, again, are doing. It's absolutely incredible what we can create when we know what we want to be surrounded by.
So I want to segue a little bit and ask you if you could get a little bit more specific about the process. Somebody reaches out to you and says, I want to be in one of your anthologies. What is the process from there up to the point when getting published? How long is that process and what is involved? So we'll take a quick break again, and when we come, if you can just walk people through that process so they know exactly what it is to expect and what the time frame is, because I think that's where a lot of people come unstuck, is that the uncertainty, and because they've been disappointed so many times that they are hesitant to trust a book publisher. But I know that the process is so smooth and that one can almost count on that time frame. So if you can just talk us through that that'll be fantastic.
Will do.
Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching Books with Bridgetti, and my amazing guest is Lynda Sunshine West of Action Takers Publishing. So, Lynda, if someone approaches you now and says, I've watched the show, I want to be part of Action Takers Publishing, I want to publish a book, I want to be in one of the anthologies, walk us through the process. How do they get hold of you? And then what are the steps from there, and how long does it take roughly to get published?
Awesome. I love this question because it varies. It's like, this is like one of those what if, and it depends types of answers. It depends on where we are in the process. So the hardest part of doing these books is filling them up. So let's say, for example, the book is filled up and we're ready to go. That's when we lock in our numbers, and that's where everything starts to move really fast. Up until that point, let's say, for example, I announced today we're doing a book. For example, we're doing one called The Year of Yes. We haven't even really put it out there yet. But and so that book, let's say you're like, I want to be in that book, The Year of Yes. That actually is kind of a different one because we're going to work a year together and then we're going to publish the book the following year. But if you wanted to be in that book, you would, reach out to us on Action Takers Publishing. We have all of our books listed, what we've got coming up, and you can join us in any of those books. But so as far as the time frame, how this works is, let's say I announce a book today, and let's say it takes us a month to fill that book. After that month, and we have that book filled, that's when our time tickers really starts ticking. And we give ourselves anywhere from 2 to 3 months to publish the book. Right now, we're doing like 2-month timelines is what we're doing, but I'm thinking of changing that to 3 months. And that's because some stuff that's going on, with Amazon and with different platforms out there that we have no control over. And so I'm thinking of extending that time frame to 3 months. I'm just sharing with you right now what's going on behind the scenes at Action Takers Publishing, because I'm an open book, literally an open book, and to share with you anything that's going on. So let's say it's 3 months from the day we fill the book. What your step then is to submit your chapter to us. You write your chapter. We're doing anywhere from 2,000 to 3,000 words, depending on the actual book that we're publishing. So let's say your chapter is 3,000 words. You submit that chapter, your bio, headshot, and you submit everything that we ask for. And then we move into a full-on production mode, behind the scenes. But you sit back and you're like, this is awesome. I submitted my chapter. I don't have to do anything else until we get to the launch date. So what happens is we end up creating, we create the book, and then we get it published, and we create all of the marketing materials, the content that goes along with it. And we just give it all to you, literally, for you to copy and paste, to put it on your social media, to put it in emails, whatever you want to do to help us to hit that bestseller status. So literally your job is write a chapter and then help us to market it on the day of the launch. That's it.
And that's the easy part of it that I really appreciate it. It's almost a done for you process, literally, because and the other thing that I've also appreciated, and that some of the other authors have also corroborated, is that you keep everyone informed every step of the way. I have never wondered where we are at. When am I going to hear from Lynda's team? Where are we in the process? I've loved that you keep us in the loop all the time, so we never have to wonder. And literally, you put out all the advertising material. It's all done for you, and you send us information and say, download this, and on launch day, this is what you need to share. And so it's really, really, so if you're on the fence, if you're watching this program and you're still sitting on the fence, should I, shouldn't I? I can personally say to you that working with Lynda has been an absolute amazing journey. It's not just what I'm saying. You can go back and watch a couple of the other interviews that I've done with collaboration authors, and they all say the same thing. They say how much fun it is, how much they've enjoyed it. So, Lynda, people that do they go to your website if they're watching the show now and they want to enroll to be in one of your collaboration books? And you did say it's not just collaboration books. If people want to do standalone books, they can also do that with you, correct?
Yes. They go to actiontakerspublishing.com. And yes, we have the collaboration books as well as the solo books. For the solo books, they would just reach out to me. We'd hop on a call because I need to find out, is it a fit? Is it a book that we don't do fiction books. So if it's like a mystery or a novel or something like that, we don't do those books, but I might have a referral for you of somebody you can connect with to do that for you. But yeah, if you're looking to share your story, if you're looking to use your book as a business platform, like a way to, get people to see what you do, who you are, what you're all about, so that you can use it as a business tool, that's a great way to do it as well. And I want to talk on that piece of the communication. This is so extremely important to me. And this is one thing I have recognized. Like I hear people all the time, coming to me and saying, I was working with this publisher and I don't know what's going on. Someone told me that, they launched the book and didn't even tell us. Like I had to reach out and a month later, they were like, oh yeah, we published it a month ago. You became a bestseller. Like that kind of communication. I hear that kind of stuff and I'm like, we are not going to be that company. We're going to be the company that are like, oh my gosh, they over communicated with us, because communication is one of the greatest things that we can do to keep those relationships going. But yeah, definitely just reach out to us at actiontakerspublishing.com. You have a story to tell. You might just not know how to tell it. It's in your head. Just need to get it out onto paper. So how do we do that? We even have, Sally on our team. She made a comment earlier. Sally on our team will hop on a call with you to walk you through it, to say, maybe this is the way you can go, or if you're stuck, so we have a system in place that is going to help you to get your story out there. And the collaboration books, what I love about them is they're great stepping off points. I was in a collaboration book first before I wrote my own book. A lot of people are in collaboration books first. They might be in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever, before they write their own book. But it's a great way to get started so that you can see that you can do this. You can do this. I know you can. It's in you.
Absolutely. And just circling back before we close to She is an Overcomer. Are there any stories in that book that stood out for you? I know it must be really, really difficult because there are so many, but is there one or two that really stood out for you in that book?
Oh, gosh. And that is really challenging because as I'm looking over the titles, the one that really stood out to me, and it's mainly because of the title of it, and because this is something that's so important to me, is called Authenticity by Jennifer Galvin. And that one, because, as a reformed people pleaser, a people pleaser cannot be authentic. It's impossible to be authentic if you're a people pleaser, because you're so busy worried about everybody else. You don't even know who you are. So that chapter right there is like, bam, this is it. Because that authenticity piece, I couldn't move into that until I knew who I was. It was through the work. We talked earlier about the life coach. I hired that life coach. She's the one who helped me to uncover, who is Lynda? What is Lynda like? What does Lynda love? What does Lynda hate? And to make sure that I move into that space. So that chapter really hit me like right between the eyes.
I can well imagine. Lynda, if you had to go back now in time, what would you want to say to your 5-year-old self?
Gosh, that got me. I got choked up right there when you asked that question. And I know that's because my voice, right? Scared to share. And what I would say to my 5-year-old self is, Mom does love you. She does want you around, and she believes in you.
I think that's where a lot of us come unstuck, is not having that self-belief, and just having that assurance that people that matter most to us do care about us. And isn't it often just about our perception of things? It's, perception isn't always the reality. Sometimes perception is far from the reality, but that is just how we feel at that moment in time in our lives. And this is why I believe storytelling is so powerful and empowering, because we all feel alone in how we feel. But when we come out and share, we feel empowered by letting go of our stories. Before we wrap up, any final word that you'd like to share?
Yeah, definitely. We all have fears. Like, even though I faced a fear and broke through fear every single day for a year, fears still show up. I still have the imposter syndrome showing up. I still have all these different things that show up in my life. And the thing is that there are tools out there to help us to break through those fears. I created an acronym: FEAR, faith erases anxious reactions. When your faith is strong, your fear is weakened. When your fear is strong, your faith is weak. So what does this mean? You need to tap into that faith so that you can move forward. But it's through those fears that you break through, that you enlarge the size of your comfort zone. It's time for you to get out there and to share your story, whether it's with us or it's self-publishing or it's doing it on videos, whatever it is. It's time for you to share your story, because your story today will impact somebody's life tomorrow.
I think that's a powerful note on which to end. And Chris says that she is considering writing a book. And Chris, I would implore you to make contact. If you like, I'd be happy to connect you with Lynda, because that does sound like an excellent idea. So I'd be happy to connect you with Lynda to get your book out there, because she certainly has the formula to make that possible. I want to say a huge big thank you to all of you who have joined us live today, whether you've joined us on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on Twitter, on Twitch, or over on Amazon Live. Thank you for joining us live. If you're catching the show on the replay, then welcome to you as a replay viewer as well. So thanks everyone. Lynda, thank you so much for sharing your story with us, and I hope to have you back again, and I just wish you well, on your journey to reach, to get 5 million stories out there. It's an ambitious one, but I believe that, with everything, I believe that you'll reach that goal, without a doubt, because you've come so far in a very short space of time, and I know that you will reach your goal. So thanks everyone. Great thank you for joining us, and we'll see you back on the next episode of Books with Bridgetti. Take care and stay safe.